Okay, so let us start the class. So in the last lecture, we had learned how to calculate the MOSFET's internal capacitances from the circuit. And we also found how to calculate these internal capacitances from the layout. Okay? And then we also found how to find out the propagation delay using these internal capacitances. Okay. Now let us talk about the second order effects which exist in these MOS transistors. So second order effects in short channel MOSFETs, okay, or what we call as the sub-micron MOSFET, when the channel length goes below let's say 0.2 micron. Okay, so these short channel effects, so they come into picture for the short channel MOSFETs, or these are called short channel effects. Okay. Now some of these short channel effects are mentioned over here. So for example, we have the threshold variations. Okay, so in a short channel MOSFET, you will find that the threshold voltage of the MOSFET can vary because of some of the short channel effects. For example, DIBL, that is drain induced barrier lowering. So that can affect the threshold voltage of the transistor. In fact, the threshold voltage of the transistor can come down because of this effect. Then the other effect would be parasitic resistances associated with drain and source. So this can reduce the current, levels of current. The drain current can be reduced because of these parasitic resistances. Then the other effect would be velocity saturation and mobility degradation. That is, carrier velocity saturates at electric field of somewhere around 10 to the power 4 or 5 volts per centimeter. Okay. And also mobility degradation because of scattering in the lattice. Okay. Then there could also be a possibility of sub-threshold conduction. That is, below VGS, VGS, when VGS, that is gate to source bias, is less than the threshold voltage. So then also the MOSFET can't conduct. This is undesirable, but yes, this is also possible, and that explains my sub-threshold conduction of, or sub-threshold region of operation of MOSFETs. And then there could be some other issues, that is you may find parasitic transistors, that is bipolar junction transistors, appear in your CMOS device, and these parasitic elements, that is these transistors, BJTs, can turn on, and then substrate current can, the current through the substrate can be there, and VDD and ground can be shorted. So the device can fail or maybe burn out. Okay. So all these effects are called second order effects or short channel effects. So let us talk about these one by one. We'll not go into the detail, but just we'll talk about them in brief only. So let us talk about threshold variations. So normally you will find that VT is constant, okay, for a long channel device. Generally VT is, that is threshold voltage, is constant for a long channel device, and is a function of manufacturing technology and also the source to bulk bias. That is, the bulk bias also controls your threshold voltage. So threshold voltage is constant normally for long channel devices. Okay. So here in this picture here, threshold as a function of length is presented. Okay. For low VDS, that is VDS is when low, threshold function as a threshold voltage as a function of length. Okay. So at this point and above this, right? Maybe from here, we say that the channel is long, or we have a long channel device at this point. Okay. So long channel threshold voltage is almost constant and it doesn't changes with the length. Okay. Now, but when the length of the channel reduces, you see that threshold voltage of the MOSFET is also reducing. Okay. And this is happening at even low VDS. Yeah, VDS is low. So for small devices, why this happens? This happens because the depletion region of the reverse bias source and drain junction. So that actually contributes the depletion region under the gate. So let us take one screen to understand this. The threshold variation in a short channel MOSFET. So let us draw a MOSFET, and let us say that this MOSFET is a short channel MOSFET. Let's say it's a N channel MOSFET. We'll call it N plus source and drain diffusion regions, let us say. This is N plus, and this is also N plus. And this one is, let's say, P substrate. So let us say that this is a short channel MOSFET, and let us try to understand the threshold voltage variations that can be possible in this MOSFET. Okay. So one of the reasons why the threshold voltage comes down in a short channel MOSFET is that the source and drain diffusion regions. Okay. So these source and drain diffusion regions, they cover the area under the gate. Okay. So under the gate, the depletion region is majorly covered by the source and drain diffusion regions. So these are the depletion regions associated with the source and the drain. This is my source and here is my drain. Okay. So the source and drain diffusion regions, that is these depletion regions, so they cover most of the area under the gate. Okay. Now because of this, when you apply even a very small bias, conduction is possible. The effect is that the low VGS is now required to create a depletion region under the gate, and then finally an inversion region under the gate. Okay. So but in a long channel MOSFET, you will find that this space is large. Okay. Maybe the depletion region ends maybe at this point, these 2 points. Okay. So you have a large area which is still which still requires to be depleted. So large VGS would be required. But in this case, most of the area under the gate is already covered by a depletion region. So VGS that will be required would be very small to create an inversion channel. Okay. So that means VT of this device will be small, or threshold voltage of a short channel MOSFET will be small. So let me call this short channel MOSFET. This is short channel MOSFET. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why the threshold voltage is low, because the depletion region under the gate is mostly captured by the source and drain diffusion regions. So small VGS is now required to create a channel under the gate. First depletion region under the gate and then channel under the gate. So PT of the device is small. Okay. Now in a short channel MOSFET, you will also find this VT, that is threshold voltage. This becomes a function of length. Okay, it can be seen over here also. As the channel length is being reduced, the VT is also rolling off. So VT is also going down because the channel length is going down. Because of the same thing, that is my depletion region under the gate is now more captured by the source and drain diffusion regions. And the VT of this MOSFET is also a function of W. So remember, if W is also, if W is large, VT will also be large. Okay, so let us try to understand it by again a 3D picture of the device. So let us say this is my W. All right. So I have a gate in this region. Let's say this is my gate. Okay. And So the gate has to create a channel in maybe this region. So this complete region channel has to be created. And this is my gate, I call it gate. This is my gate VG. Okay, then of course source and drain diffusion regions also exist here then. Maybe here, let us say, or maybe, yeah, or maybe here. Now this entire area has to be depleted and inverted. Yeah, it is not that only channel length which you see here in this 2D picture. So not only just one line of channel, but this entire cubical area has to be filled by the electrons. So obviously, with the width of the MOSFET, I mean, if the width of MOSFET is large, then obviously VG required will be large to create a depletion region under this entire area or the channel under the entire this area, right? So that means if W goes up, okay, then VG requirement, that is threshold voltage, will also go up. Yeah, so we find now that the effect of width is also to reduce the threshold voltage. So if you increase the width of MOSFET, so obviously the threshold voltage will go up and VGS requirement will also go up. And if you reduce the width of the transistor, the threshold voltage requirement will also go down. And so VGS requirement to, create a channel will also go down. Now, similar to this L and W, now my VDS, that is drain to source bias, can also affect the threshold voltage. In fact, when you increase VDS, you will find that the threshold voltage becomes small for the MOSFET. So this can be explained from this picture, where you will find that let us say my VDS is further increased. Okay. Now the effect of this increase in VDS is that you have a depletion region around the drain bulk junction, which is now increased. Yeah, that is, which is from this, it has changed to this one. Right now, the depletion region around under the drain junction is now has increased, and now it has covered the entire, the gate region. So earlier, this much space under the gate was left, but now when I increase this VDS, this space is also captured by the depletion region. So depletion region under the drain bulk junction, so that captures the leftover space also. So now the effect of this will obviously be that the threshold voltage of my MOSFET will further go down. That means VGS requirement will also further go down. Okay. So that's why when you increase VDS, one can say that VTH will go down, because depletion region of the drain bulk junction covers now, in fact, it majorly covers the region under the gate. Okay. And so that VGS can also be, requirement can be also brought down. Okay. Now, apart from these effects, that is the effect of length, width, and VDS, just a second. Okay, so now let us try to understand this drain-induced barrier lowering. Let us take another screen for this. Okay, so now for understanding drain-induced barrier lowering, now let us also once again draw the same short channel MOSFET. So let us draw an N-channel MOSFET again, and let us say this is a short channel MOSFET. Okay. And let us say the depletion regions under the source and drain, they look like this. Okay. And we have this gate, and this is source, this one is drain. So drain induced barrier lowering means that you apply VDS. So when you increase VDS, that is the potential across drain, the source to channel barrier, so that reduces, and because of that, the threshold voltage of the MOSFET also reduces. Okay, so to understand that, let us try to bring in another term which is called the surface potential. Okay. Okay. So let us say that we apply a VG, and that VG is equal to the flat band voltage. That is, all bands in my MOSFET are flat. Okay. So that much only VG is applied. So under this VG, I have a depletion region under the gate. Okay. Now the surface potential. Okay. So the surface potential at the center of the gate is 0 under flat band condition. Right. And the surface potential when you move from this point, that is center of the gate, towards the source or towards the drain, surface potential increases. And if you reach this point, that is x is equal to 0, the surface potential becomes equal to the built-in potential of the source bulk junction. Okay. Similarly, the surface potential becomes equal to the built-in potential of the drain bulk junction if you move away from source to drain. Okay. But at the center of this gate, the surface potential is 0 under flat band condition. Now this surface potential is an important term. We will discuss what it is. So this surface potential is actually given by, let us say, surface potential is the difference between the intrinsic levels of the bulk and the intrinsic energy level of the surface. So EI bulk minus EI surface. What are these? We'll understand very soon. I'll just tell you. So surface potential is the difference between the intrinsic level of the bulk and the intrinsic level of the surface at the surface. So please turn off your mics. So this surface potential is 0 at the gate, center of the gate, and as you move away from the gate towards the source or towards the drain, the surface potential increases and it becomes equal to VBI at x is equal to 0 point, that is towards the edge of the source, and also towards the edge of the drain junction. It becomes equal to the built-in potential. Okay. So if you try to plot this surface potential, let us say we try to plot this surface potential. So let's say this is my surface potential psi s given by psi s, and it's a function of x. Okay. And let us say that these points are my x is equal to 0 and L. Let's say this is my x is equal to 0 point, and this is x is equal to L point. Okay. This is x is equal to 0, and this is x is equal to L point. So as I said, surface potential is 0 at the center of the gate. So that means at this point, surface potential is 0. And as you move away from the gate, center of the gate towards the source, the surface potential increases. And it increases and it takes a value of VBI at the source edge. And also it increases if you move away from the center of the gate towards the drain side, and it reaches a value that is equal to the built-in potential of the drain bulk junction, right? So now because of this built-in potential across the source and drain junction, okay, so because of this built-in potential across the source bulk and drain bulk junction, so the carriers, there will be a force that will prevent carriers from moving from N to the channel region, or this is P-type region. So from N to P, okay, the carriers, that is these electrons that were moving, so they will face some force that will prevent them from moving from source to channel and also from drain to channel, okay, because of this built-in potential. Okay, but still you will find that there are some electrons will still diffuse, right? It is not exactly 0. Because of this built-in potential, they feel some force that prevents the from the source to the channel, similarly from drain to the channel. But yes, still there would be some electrons, very few in numbers, that will still try to cross or try to move from source to channel and from drain to channel. Okay. Now, because these two junctions are symmetrical, so it is assumed that the number of electrons moving from source to channel towards drain and from drain to channel towards source. So these number of electrons will be equal. Okay. That means net carrier movement across the channel would be 0, because equal number of electrons are moving from source to drain via channel and from drain to source via channel. So net current will also be 0 in this case, right? So I'll say that the net current is 0 in this case when Vg is equal to VFB, that is when flat band condition is achieved by applying some positive bias. Okay? So current is 0. Now imagine in this situation also we assume that source is grounded and the Vd, so that is also 0 in this condition. Okay? Now imagine when Vd is increased. Okay, Vd is increased. Now let us say Vd, some positive value of Vds is applied. Vd is now, let us say Vds, some positive value of Vd, that is, let's say Vd is equal to Vds is now applied. Okay. So Vd is equal to Vds when is applied. So that is, you are increasing the reverse bias across the drain bulk junction. Okay. So what happens when we increase the drain bulk junction reverse bias? The depletion region widens. Okay. So the depletion region widens, maybe let us say the depletion region widens and it takes a shape of this now, okay, because of Vd that we apply, and that Vd is equal to now Vds plus Vds. Okay. So because of this, my depletion region under the drain bulk junction widens. Okay. So depletion region under the drain bulk junction widens. So that also means that barrier potential across this junction. So this also increases. Okay. So earlier the barrier potential was VBI. Now when you apply VDS across the drain bulk junction, now the total barrier potential, if you remember, you increase the reverse bias across the junction. Okay. So the built-in potential increases. Okay. Now this time the built-in potential will be equal to the previous built-in potential, that is VBI plus VDS. So now it will be VBI, the previous one, plus VDS. Okay. So that means maybe let us say this is that point, VBI plus VDS. Okay. So the reverse bias is applied across the junction, and that reverse bias is Vd is equal to VDS. So the built-in potential across the drain bulk junction increases to VBI plus VDS. Okay. Now if we try to plot this surface potential across this channel region, so how it will look? Let us try to plot this. So this will be now somewhat like this. Okay. Now it can be modeled. I mean, these things can be modeled by analytical expression, but it is tedious. But yes, it can be modeled. But that is not the aim of this course. So we'll not try to model these things. But yes, let us understand these things as we will be using these things in our digital IC design course as well. So the surface potential profile across the channel now looks like this. Okay, that is, now you see that at the center the surface potential is not 0. Okay, and also earlier if you see the surface potential towards the source, sorry, the source channel barrier. Okay, that is maybe let me take another ink. The barrier was earlier this much. Okay, this was my barrier earlier. Okay. Now the barrier of the source to channel, so that has reduced, and now the barrier is only this much. That is, only this much barrier now is left. Okay, and this barrier or surface potential, okay, and now this is changed to this value, which is less than the previous size. So that means my source to channel barrier now that has reduced. Okay, so because of this reduction in source to channel barrier, you will see that number of electrons crossing the source, in fact built-in potential of this side, that is drain side, is increased. So obviously now it is not in equilibrium. I mean, these two equal number of electrons were moving from source to drain earlier because built-in potentials were same. But now because of the increase in built-in potential of this junction, the number of electrons which will be moving from drain to source via channel, so this will come down. Okay, so this will be small because the built-in potential of this side, that is drain junction side, is further increased, but this will remain same, right? That is the electrons moving from source to channel and then to drain, that will remain same. Okay, so this has gone up. I mean, this side electrons have this is same, but this side has gone down. Okay, so that means now there is a net carrier movement across the channel. Okay, that is source to drain number of electrons are more in comparison to the electrons moving from drain to source because of this increase in barrier across the drain bulk junction. Okay, now in this case you will find that current is also not zero. I mean, there will be some current because now there is some net carrier movement. Okay, so current is not zero in this case. Okay, it will be of some value, and the current will flow from, in this case, drain to source, because net carrier movement is from source to drain. Okay, so because of this source to channel barrier lowering, you will see that the threshold voltage of the MOSFET, so that also goes down now. Okay, because the surface potential has increased. Okay, and to create a strong channel, a strong inversion, you need a surface potential that should be greater than or equal to phi f. Phi f is the Fermi potential or the bulk potential. So this much surface potential is required, okay, in the channel to create an inversion channel, that is strong inversion. To create a strong inversion, you need the surface potential that is equivalent to 2 phi f, that is bulk potential. Phi f is called the bulk potential or Fermi potential, and phi f is somewhere around 0.3 volts. So this comes out to be, that psi s should be greater than, that is surface potential should be greater than 0.6 volts, okay? Because phi f is only 0.3 volts. And what is phi f? Phi f is the difference between the intrinsic energy level, EI, minus the Fermi level, okay, of the semiconductor. So let us call this is Q phi f, or the Fermi potential or the bulk potential. Okay, so we see that psi s, okay, the built-in potential, because of the reduction in increase in built-in potential across this, your source to channel barrier, so that has reduced. Earlier it was equal to the built-in potential, but now it has reduced by this much amount, that is this much amount. Okay, so by this much amount, source to channel barrier has reduced. So because of this reduction in source to channel barrier, the electrons from source now can move through the channel to the drain, and then current can be possible. Okay, so I'll repeat once again these things. So you need the surface potential that should be greater than or equal to twice the Fermi potential or the bulk potential to create a strong inversion region or a strong strongly inverted channel under the gate. And this phi f is called bulk potential, and this is somewhere around 0.3 volts. So this total comes out to be that the surface potential should be greater than or equal to 0.6 volts. And this Fermi potential or bulk potential is the difference between the intrinsic energy level and the Fermi level inside the semiconductor. So this situation happens only in short channel MOSFET when the channel is weakly inverted. Whenever the channel becomes strongly inverted, this effect goes off. Okay, that is, the IBL effect is only present in the short channel MOSFET when the channel is weakly inverted. When the channel is strongly inverted, the IBL effect is gone. Okay. Now let us also try to plot the surface potential for a long channel MOSFET. Okay. So for a long channel MOSFET, let us try to take another MOSFET, and let's say this is a long channel MOSFET now. Okay. In fact, we don't need to take this, draw once again this long channel MOSFET. We'll simply draw the surface potential profile. Okay. So we try to draw the surface potential profile. Let us say this is the center of the gate, and this is, let us say, x is equal to 0 point, that is the edge of the source, and this is the edge of the drain, that is x is equal to L point. Okay. So if I try to draw the surface potential, this is surface potential with respect to x. Okay. So if I try to draw, and this is x is equal to 0. So again, under the flat band condition, that is when Vg is equal to VFB. Okay. So when Vg is equal to VFB, that is under the flat band condition, you will find that surface potential at the center of the gate is 0. Okay. And this surface potential increases. Okay. So it's increasing. And it again reaches the built-in potential of the source and drain regions. Okay. So this surface potential increases. So this is for long channel MOSFET. So let me call it long channel MOSFET. Okay. So surface potential again increases and reaches the built-in potential at the source side, and it reaches the built-in potential at the drain side. So this is when the Vd is equal to 0. I mean, no Vd you have applied. Okay. Now let us try to apply a Vd equal to Vds. Okay. So when we apply Vd is equal to Vds is applied, so the built-in potential across the drain bulk junction, let us say, so that increases to this level, again the same Vbi plus Vds. Now if we try to plot the surface potential of the long channel MOSFET, so the surface potential of the long channel MOSFET is now, in this case, it is again reaching Vbi at the drain side. Okay. So this is for when Vd is equal to Vds is applied. Okay. So we see that in this case, in long channel MOSFET, the source channel barrier, okay, so that is still this much. Okay, that is this much. So this is still Vbi, source channel barrier. Okay. But in the case of short channel MOSFET, we saw that the source channel barrier, so that was reducing. Okay. So because of which the threshold voltage of the MOSFET also goes down, and you have current, because the the carriers can now move from source to drain, and there is net carrier movement, because the drain to source carriers, so they reduces number of electrons moving from drain to source via channel, they go down because of increase in this built-in potential across the drain junction. Okay. So net carrier movement is there, current is there. Okay. So current is not 0 in this case. Okay. Vbi plus Vds when when Vds is applied. So that explains the the drain induced by barrier loading.
Sir, in short channel,
Yeah, please.
sir, in short channel, why it is move aside, right side, sir? Why it's decreased in long channel? Why it's not decreased? There.
So yeah, so short channel, the channel is short, okay, and the depletion region that encroaches. You see that when you increase VDS, so depletion region encroaches the area under the gate. In fact, the depletion region encroaches the source side, okay, source side junction, it encroaches. But in a long channel MOSFET, you will not find this thing, that is depletion region will maybe, it will start from here and maybe it will end here itself. Okay. So it will not encroach the source side as in this case. Okay. So you will see that because of this, the source channel barrier is reduced, and the drain the barrier across the drain is increased because of this effect. But source channel or the drain, the barrier across this is reduced. So that means that number of electrons crossing the drain channel is reduced, and the number of electrons which were crossing the channel from the source side, so that remains same, and now that is dominant. So they have not increased, but they remain same. But now because the drain side electrons, they have reduced in numbers, so we say that the net current is not 0 in this case.
Sir, what is the meaning of this surface potential 0 at the center, sir?
Yeah, surface potential, I mean, you have surface potential across this channel, okay? So this surface potential is 0 at this point, and when you move from this point toward the source, so surface potential increases. In this case, as it is increasing, and it reaches the built-in potential when you reach the edge of this source. So the surface potential at this point is 0. Okay, we have some surface potential across this channel. That surface potential increases if you move from this point toward the source, and it reaches the built-in potential value. Similarly, this surface potential increases as you move from the this position towards the drain side, and it again reaches this built-in potential which is appearing across the drain bulk junction. Okay.
Sir, in this, sir, at midpoint, like phi s is equals to 0 when x is equals to at L by 2 something.
Okay.
Okay, sir. So when we applied the VDS, the value is shifting, sir, upwards. So at x is equals to L by 2, phi s is increasing, na?
X is equal to L by 2. That means
Yes, sir. Midpoint, 0.
here. This point.
No, sir.
So x is equal to L by 2.
Sir, is 0 जहाँ पे आपका
correct. This point.
Sir, at this point, phi s is increasing, na?
Not psi s. Yeah, surface potential is increasing. Correct. Surface potential is not increasing. The surface potential. Surface potential is 0 here, and it increases. So it remains at this point. I mean, it remains here this much only, surface potential. But at this point, it increases. Correct. Yeah, at this point, it increases, surface potential. Correct. Yeah, surface potential increases.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah, at this point, surface potential is more now. So channel is more inverted, you can say, in this case.
Sir.
Okay. So now let us understand the surface potential thing via this band diagram. Okay. So now let us say that we have a metal oxide semiconductor junction, and let us say that the work function of metal is greater than the work function of semiconductor. Okay, now let us try to draw the diagram, the band diagram for a MOS structure, metal oxide semiconductor, and let's say that semiconductor is p-type. P-type semiconductor. So when a structure of this MOS is created when phi m is greater than phi s. So because of Fermi level alignment, you will see that the band diagrams may look like this. So you have metal Fermi level, let us call it EFM. Okay, and then you have the energy level alignment, Fermi level alignment. So you have the semiconductor work function, okay, and let's say it's a p-type. So in a p-type, because of Fermi level alignment, you will see that band bending across the surface happens. So this is EV, let us say, and then similarly, let's say this is EC, that is conduction band, and maybe here let us say my intrinsic level, that is in between EC and EV. So I have intrinsic level. Okay. This is my metal oxide semiconductor junction, and the Fermi this metal work function. So that is greater than, let's say this is vacuum level. So this is vacuum level, E vacuum, let us call. So this is my work function of the metal. So let us call it Q phi m. Okay, similarly, work function of semiconductor, so which is this much. We call it Q phi s. Okay. Since phi m, that is metal work function, was greater than the semiconductor work function, so that is why when this junction was created, so the band energy band alignment, because of energy band alignment, you see this band bending is happening here. Okay. Now let us try to define the Fermi potential first of all. So Fermi potential is we said it is difference between the intrinsic level and the Fermi level, or the bulk potential, what we call as Q phi F. This is Fermi potential, and the surface potential in this case. So this is the surface potential, that is this point, this much. So this is my surface potential, that is difference between the intrinsic energy level at the bulk side and intrinsic level at the surface, right? So this is intrinsic energy level. So at the surface I have some value, and at the bulk side we have some value. So psi s is, that is surface potential, is, I'll write again, Q psi s, that is surface potential, is given by EI bulk, that is intrinsic level energy of the bulk minus intrinsic energy level at the surface. Now for strong inversion, you need psi s, so that should be greater than 2 phi f. Okay, so psi s should be greater than or equal to 2 phi f for strong inversion. Okay. Now let us try to apply a Vg here. So in this case, my Vg is 0. Okay. Now let us try to apply Vg, which is equal to the flat band voltage. Okay. So Vg is now flat band voltage equal to flat band voltage. Okay. So in flat band, all these bands will become flat. So I'm applying a positive bias, that is positive at the MOS side and negative at the source side. So when you apply this, so that means energy level of the metal will further be pushed down, and energies level of the semiconductor side, they will be pushed up when you apply a positive bias, that is VGS plus minus in this way, right? So let us try to again draw these band diagrams in this situation. So in this situation, the band diagram will be now when you apply Vg is equal to VFB. So you'll see that your Fermi level of the metal may lie somewhere here. Okay. And the Fermi level of your semiconductor, so that will lie somewhere here. Okay. And then EV. So this is flat band condition. So all bands are flat at the surface. And then you have EI, all are flat, and EC. So in this case, the surface potential is 0. Okay. So this is my EI. Okay. Surface potential in this case is 0. Okay. So this is my flat band condition. Okay. When Vg is VFB, Vg is equal to VFB is applied. Now let us raise this Vg again. Okay, let us say that Vg is now more positive. Vg is, let us say, V is more positive. Okay. So I'll take another slide. Maybe let us raise this Vg, and we say that Vg is now further raised. Let me take new slide. Okay. So let us say that Vg is further increased. So this time now Vg is greater than the flat band voltage. Okay. So Vg is, that is Vg is greater than now flat band voltage. So what happens in this case? So when Vg is greater than the flat band voltage, that is, you apply across this MOS, you apply Vg which is greater than the flat band voltage. So how the band change? Okay. Okay. So we have my Fermi level of the metal over here in this situation, and the Fermi level of my semiconductor. Let us say. Now, because of this, you will find that you have again a band bending. No, not this way. Plus this and minus, it will be raised up. So I'll have a band bending, and this time this is EV, that is valence band energy level, And then maybe let me also draw a conduction band energy level first. So this is EC. And then I'll also draw EI. So let's say EI is now at the verge of saturation. Let us say at this point, EI meets EF. Okay. So this will also change. Yeah. So now in this case, you will see that surface potential that has increased. I mean, this is somewhere around this value, phi psi s. This is my surface potential now. And this time this is equal to phi f, Fermi potential, right? Because this is Fermi potential. This is my EI. So this is my Fermi potential, this much. So surface potential is equal to Fermi potential, okay? When we apply a Vg which is greater than the flat band voltage. And surface potential requirement for a strong inversion channel is that psi s should be greater than or equal to 2 phi f. Okay? So to achieve this condition, one has to again raise Vg, right? So one has to again reach Vg, okay? So Vg is now, let's say, further increased. Okay, so when Vg is further increased, so what happens to the energy bands? So these energy bands, they further bend down. Okay, now my surface potential may be somewhere around, I would say, it is now in this case this much. And this could be equal to 2 phi f. So channel is strongly inverted in this case. Okay. So that was all about surface potential. Okay. So you need a surface potential that should be greater than equal to or equal to 2 phi f to create a strong inversion region. Okay. Now, apart from this DIBL, there are some other second order effects, for example, hot carrier effects or trapped oxide charges. Okay. So we understand that when you increase this VDS, okay, the depletion region across this drain diffusion region, so that increases. So because of that, you have large electric field in the regions. Okay. So maybe I'll draw just a drain side. So let us draw a drain side only. So let's say this is my drain. Okay, so when you apply a VDS, a large VDS, so VDS is large. So the depletion region across the drain side, so that is large now. Maybe let us say it looks somewhat like this. Okay. And then you also have a gate here, let us say silicon dioxide and a gate. Okay. And this is N plus. So when you apply a VDS which is large enough for depletion region under the drain side, so that goes up. So because of this, you will find that electric field in this region is also very high. Okay, that is between this region. That is, this is P-type semiconductor here. P-type. Okay. So obviously, as in PN junction diodes, we saw. So the electric field in this region is very high. So electric field in this region is high. And then you have applied electric field from gate also. Okay. So because of this high electric field, the carrier velocity increases, and with that high velocity, maybe the carrier energy level also increase. And when the energy level of carrier increases beyond the band gap of silicon atoms, or maybe what we call as covalent band energy, that is somewhere around 1.12 eV. Okay. So when the energy levels of the electrons in the channel in this depletion region, this increases up to a level of 1.12 eV, that is the band gap or maybe the covalent band energy of the atoms in the silicon lattice. Then these electrons which are moving here, okay, let's say this is my electron which is moving. So this can hit the silicon atoms in the lattice and free electron hole pairs can be created. Let's say this is hole. So free electron hole pairs can be created. So this is, let's say, electron pair and this is hole pair created. So this is similar to the avalanche effect that we studied. So again, these free electron hole pairs will create further electrons and further holes. Okay, so entirely across drain region you will see free electrons and free holes. Okay, these are holes, let us say. So they are created. Free electrons and holes and these free electrons and hole move. So electrons move towards the drain, into the drain from all sides. So they move into the drain, the electrons from all sides. So this is equivalent to, as I said, avalanche effect, where carrier multiplication is happening and the holes move into the P substrate. Okay, so you have a current. That current may be directed towards the drain to bulk. Yeah? So drain to bulk, that is reverse currents are possible. We have a current here from drain to bulk. Okay, so currents are possible because of movement of these electrons or holes. Right. So drain to bulk conduction is possible. Okay. Now apart from this, because of this electric field which is a transverse appearing here because of the gate to source voltage, so you will find that these electrons, when they gain energy levels which are equivalent to the equal to silicon dioxide barrier level. Okay. So energy level which is equivalent to silicon dioxide barrier level, and that is somewhere around 3.2 eV. Okay. So when this much energy is achieved by these electrons, then these electrons can even tunnel through the barrier. Okay. So the electrons can even tunnel through the barrier. Tunnel through the silicon dioxide, and they can reach to the gate. So that means again a conduction from gate to bulk is possible now. Okay. That is, a current from gate to bulk is possible because of these electrons which are having now energy levels of somewhere around 3.2 eV, which is equal to the energy barrier of silicon dioxide. Okay. So now you have a possibility of electron moving through the silicon dioxide, that is tunneling through the silicon dioxide toward the gate side. Okay. Now some of these electrons will also get trapped in the silicon dioxide. Okay. Some of them may not be able to cross the silicon dioxide and they get trapped. Okay. Now because of these trapped electrons in the silicon dioxide, you will see that the VT, that is threshold voltage of the MOSFET, that will go up. For an NMOS it will go up, and for a PMOS it will go down. Okay. So this explains the hot carrier effects or trapped oxide charges, and because of this you will find two effects. That is, one is tunneling through the silicon dioxide layer, so you may have leakage from gate to bulk, and also due to avalanche effect you will find that drain to bulk conduction is possible, which is undesirable, and this happens at an electric field in the depletion region of somewhere around 10 to the power 4 volts per volts per centimeter. Okay. And this also happens in channel length which is shorter than 1 micrometer. Okay. So because of this, VT of NMOS goes up and VT of PMOS goes down. Now apart from this, you have
Time again, sir.
Time.
Okay, so I'll stop here. I'm almost done, so I'll stop here. And maybe if you have any question, then you can ask, or otherwise the class is ended.
The syllabus for
Sir.
midterm.
Yeah, please.
Sir, can you explain again how electron is trapped in oxide there?
Okay, just a second. So how the electrons get trapped inside the, okay. Yeah, here. So, because of this gate to source electric field, okay, which is pointing down here from the gate to the bulb, okay, you will find, in fact, because of this also, and because of the drain to source electric field also, okay. So because of these two electric fields, you will find that electrons will gain sufficient velocity and also energy, and energy that is equivalent to silicon dioxide barrier, that is 3.2 eV. So electrons will gain this much energy, and with this much energy they can even tunnel through the barrier, that is tunnel through the silicon dioxide barrier. So here, somewhere here at this point, silicon dioxide barrier, so they can tunnel through the silicon dioxide and they can reach the gate. Okay, So that means a conduction from bulk to gate, that is bulk to gate electrons can move. So the current can be from drain to bulk, sorry, the gate to bulk, right? So current direction from gate to bulk is possible. Yeah, this is current here, this one.
Sir, energy more than 3.2 electron volt or it's 3.2 electron volt?
Yeah, more than or equal to 3.2 electron volts. 3.2 electron voltage, the silicon dioxide barrier energy level.
Okay.
Right, so the barrier across this silicon dioxide is 3.2 eV. So if the electron gains energy equal to this or more than this, it can go into the this gate electrode. It can tunnel through the gate electrode. Okay. Yeah, anything else?
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, then let us see.
सर मिड सैम में क्या क्या आएगा सर?
So mid-sem mein, I think we can keep whatever we have covered till now.
Sir, basically sir we have covered the theory part, not the numerical. So numerical भी आएंगे क्या?
Yeah, so whatever theory we have learned, so based on that theory we'll cover the numericals. So numericals will be given to you. It will be an open book exam, right? So whatever concepts we have gained, so based on those concepts, some problems will be given and you'll have to apply your mind, okay, to solve those problems.
So is it whole